Good morning and happy Tuesday to everybody. How was your Monday? I hope it went well. Or if you're watching some Friday, I hope your Thursday went well. So, this subject of this episode, tag team open mics, also known as host lining. And I'm basically talking about the comedy open mics. I do the music open mics also, and they have their own caveats as well. And I'll talk about them in other episodes. But host lining is basically when the show becomes about the MCs, and tag teaming is when you have more. Yes, there are comedy open mics when there are more than one MC. But I just want to start off by, I know I mentioned this show before, okay? And I'm going to mention again. I never mentioned the name, even though I know you all know what I'm talking about. But I don't mention the name because there's a 1% chance I might go there one day and try to get on stage. The odds are against it because I don't like to travel, okay? And if I go anywhere, even locally, I like to go places where I feel welcome, you know, and I wouldn't feel very welcome there, even I don't know anybody, and the fact that, comedians travel all over the world or country to go to this place when there's only a 1% shot chance that they're going to get to go up on stage anyway. But this show is a classic example of host lining. You have a panel on the stage, and I would say it's kind of a little mixture of the Gong Show when you get gonged, or the Apollo Theater where they take the hook and you pull you, or American Idol where Simon, yes, I'm mentioning his name in American Idol because I'm never ever going to go on American Idol. I have no intentions of going on that show. And if I do, all right, I'll put my foot in the mouth. But I'm so confident that I'm not going to go on American Idol that I'm willing to mention the name. But quite often, all right, these tag teaming shows, I'll get into them in a minute, but they all relate to the spirit of competition and roasting, because that's what comedians are doing at this particular show, where everybody wants to go and be up and basically roasted by the panel of comedians who sit at the table. And then you have the band there too. And quite often I question the need for competition and roasting in comedy. Why can't each comic blossom in their own way? Like musicians, they're not competing with each other. They all sound good. They all support each other. People aren't trashing each other, except for rap. I know they have rap battles, but I thought maybe I'd talk about some of my experience in tag team open mics. And the first one I'm going to mention by its name, because I haven't been there in about 13 years, and it probably doesn't even exist. I don't even think that particular bar has comedy. Maybe it does. I don't know. But this particular open mic, a lot of the open mics in New York City or in the clubs, they only give you 3 minutes because of host line, partly because an obnoxious amount of comics show up. Quite often 30, 35, 40 comedians show up. So that's one reason why you only get, and then they have this bucket thing where it doesn't make a difference how early you get there. It doesn't make a difference, whatever number they draw out. But this particular show was called the Dick's Open Mic, and they proudly said because they get to act like dicks. And I just remember them trashing my set after I went up, and I had no recourse. I couldn't say anything back, and I would have had to come back the next week, travel all the way in there, and sit around and wait and buy my drink just to be abused by these people again. All right. Then there was another place I went to, another open mic in another city where it was a tag team open mic, and I kept showing up there every week. You know, you had to buy your 2 drink minimum. There was no guarantee that you would get on stage. And I showed up there about 3 times. I bought the drink. I got there 3 hours early, and they didn't select me. You know, and I think it was just favoritism. Maybe I'm too old. You know, maybe because color of my skin. Maybe they just don't like me. I don't know, but I remember, you know, hanging around and drinking anyway, supporting the show, and then people telling me, because there was no where to sit, people telling me to get out of their way. I was in their way, so I went up by the door because I was like pushed all the way to the door, and then people told me to get out of the doorway. So I walked out of that room to another room in the bar and started drinking and talking to people, and people were just kind of blowing me off. So I never went back there again. Then, you know, there are a couple open mics near me where you have two MCs on the stage. And, you know, one of them, there's an MC in the booth and an MC on the stage. And I don't know, it's kind of like nursery school. It's like they're not going to graduate past this. It's almost like their social life. They don't want to admit that it's their social life. You know, that they're never going to make it big, or they want to make it big. You know, accept the fact this is your karaoke night. This is your game night out at the bar, and that's all you're gonna. But it's like nursery school. It's like juvenile, and that's why I try to avoid these type of mics, because they piss me off, and I'm getting too old for nursery games. And you see, I just don't understand the need for host lining. You know, if host lining means, like I mentioned, the show is about the MCs. You know, they're getting plenty of stage time as it is. They're making plenty of connections as it is. You know, people are calling them, they're coming, they're recognized, they're going to work their way up in the comedy community. You know, there's an old Hebrew word, mechaza, don't be a hog. They're being pigs. They're padding it. They're taking up so much stage time by bullshitting and talking and doing 5-minute sets between every comedian set, so comedians have to wait around 3-4 hours, and there's no reason for that. That's why I do not like host lining. But I might just swallow my pride and go back for more punishment. And that's my set. I'm out. I'll be back probably tomorrow with more thoughts. Maybe in the same shirt. I don't know. Maybe a new shirt and a different hat. What's the difference? No one's watching anyway. There you go. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.